Hello everybody and welcome along to a brand new video today where we're very excited to be able to talk about a brand new Doctor Who animation that was announced yesterday at MCM London Comic Con. Very excitingly, we've got a second animation set to be released in 2020 for Fury from the Deep. So yes, this was a reasonably unexpected one until a couple of weeks ago when it was announced there was going to be a panel and a world exclusive clip of a new animation. Then obviously we all realised there's going to be another one. But initially that was quite surprising because they're already making one animation with the Faceless ones, which are coming out next year. And up until now, well, since they've started this new wave of animations of classic episodes, we haven't seen any year feature two stories. It's taken near enough 18 months to get each one out, from Power of the Daleks to Charlotte to Macroterra. And suddenly we're going to be getting the Faceless ones and Fury from the Deep next year, which is fantastic news for a start. But how actually is it possible? Now, the key, a fairly easy explanation as to why this is the case is because they're going down the route of having two separate animation companies working on these projects. So you've got BBC Studios, which is the main sort of corporate arm of the BBC, which has been doing the previous three animations of Power of the Daleks, Charlotte and Macroterra. It's done those three previously, and it's carrying on with the Faces ones, which was announced last year. All fairly at the time, it seemed all fairly standard. Okay, there's another one in the pipeline. It's going to be another year to 18 months between releases. That's just where we're at. But then, intriguingly, we've had this new animation announced yesterday, and this is being done by Big Finish's animation, the sort of animation part from Big Finish, which I think was originally called Planet 55, Planet 55 Studios, and now I believe it's just kind of called Big Finish Animations, or maybe it's still Planet 55. I can't quite remember, but essentially it's owned by Big Finish and is their animation sort of part of their business, which they have worked on Doctor Who previously under the name Planet 55. They produced the final episode of The 10th Planet back in 2013, The Moon Base in 2015, and also Reign of Terror back in 2013 as well. So they're used to doing a few episodes of Doctor Who. There'll be a few assets hopefully left over from those times of doing it. So maybe a better sort of guide as to what Fury from the Deep is going to look like would be in those animations done by this company previously, because as I say, the Faces ones has been done by the same company that's done the last three that have been released. So it's quite a little bit maybe almost surprising to see that they've had the money and the opportunity to be able to commission to have two of these being done at the same time, which certainly suggests that going down the line, or so far it's been very, very successful, and down the line they're looking to sort of continue to do these and do more. And maybe can we hope that ultimately they might try and produce an animation of all the episodes? I mean, it's the dream really to actually, if we can't have them in existing form, then to have an animation of them is pretty much the second best thing we could possibly get. So I'm intrigued to see where that goes down the line, really. The prospect of being able to do two animations a year and, well, essentially 12 episodes of animation in 1 year certainly gives us hope that maybe it won't actually take all that long if they're looking to really animate every single episode, because in theory, I believe once these 12 have been animated, there's only going to be 68 or so, or 70 or so episodes that don't exist and haven't been animated up until now. So if you do 12 a year, then that's 6 years, and the whole of Classic Who will exist in visual format, which is pretty exciting, I think, as a prospect. And as much as obviously I would prefer to have the existing original episodes, there's never going to be anything better than that, essentially, for me. And like, if some of these animated episodes, if the existing episode ever turned up, then I probably wouldn't watch the animation again. I'd just stick to the episode, because that's the original version. That is the actual thing. But this really, really is, I think, the next best thing we're going to get sort of below that with a lot of these episodes, that it's highly unlikely we're ever going to see them again in visual form, which is a real shame, of course. But at least with the sort of developments in technology and opportunity and talented people who work at the BBC and for these different animation companies, giving us the opportunity to experience in visual form these classic Doctor Who stories is so fantastic, I think. And so I'm certainly very excited for these two animations and for the future, because I believe one of the sort of executive or producers or whoever who commissions all these said that they're certainly looking to kind of speed up the process a little bit and try and ramp up the production of these animations, not in a sort of declining quality type way, I think, but just in they're realising that they're selling, they're doing well, so why are we going to waste time and do one every 18 months? Let's get another animation company involved, let's do two a year, let's get things going. And I think that's absolutely fantastic news for us fans. We should focus for a moment on Fury from the Deep as a story. Of course, it is from 1968, season 5 of Doctor Who, and is a story that I have watched the reconstruction of. I did it at the beginning of this year. It's 6 episodes and none of the episodes exist. There's about 2 minutes of existing footage, I think, from the whole 6 episodes, which are censored clips from Australia. when they were taken out, which has somehow survived. I can't remember quite how, but they were discovered about 25 years or so ago. But apart from that, nothing exists. And so, as I say, I watched the reconstructions earlier this year, and I think I just wasn't in the right mindset at the time when I watched them, because I don't really recollect particularly much from this story, and I just wasn't really that zoned into the reconstructions at the time. Particularly with reconstructions, I find that if you lose your focus for 5 minutes, then you're completely lost in what's going on in the story, because you've just missed so much that you can't sort of take in when it's not visual in that sense. So I'm very, very ready to sort of reevaluate it once the animation comes out, because I didn't think it was terrible. I just don't really have strong opinions either way, I think, on this story is the best way to put it. But I certainly know that it's generally been reasonably popular with fans in terms of a story, and one of those sort of potential lost classics, like Enemy of the World. If it was ever recovered, people would realise how amazing it is and things like that. I think Fear from the Deep, maybe you'll get a little bit of that in animation form when people are able to kind of see a visual representation of it. Certainly, I think there'll be a few good sort of opportunities for locations to be visualised really, really effectively. The whole gas refinery, I think they'll be able to do a really good job with some really fantastic looking sets. And then those sort of standing oil tankers in the sea, or I don't know, really know, oil rigs, I guess you'd call them, out in the sea. Those with a helicopter flying around through them and everything as well, which is quite I think a visually impressive ending to, I think it's in episode 6, I believe. I'm looking forward to seeing how that's recreated in animation form as well. The sort of the Sussex coast, or the English coast, I think it is, where sort of the initial start of the story set as well. There's just a lot of opportunity. Even the sort of the foam monster essentially that is, or the killer seaweed that uses foam to try and kill people and take over and everything, which is a bit of a wacky Doctor Who type story, but I think it works. I'm really looking forward to seeing how sort of creepy and mysterious they can make it. Certainly hearing a few sound bites from Gary Russell, who is the sort of producer of this project, and was at the panel yesterday talking about how he wants it to very much be a little bit darker and more sinister, and really, I think, bring out the sort of quite dark and almost horror type vibe. I think that's part of this. Some bits of this story are trying to sort of portray. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how that's brought out in this animation. So yes, that certainly gives us two very exciting things to look forward to next year. Of course, we already knew about the Faces ones, but it got a couple of new clips from that, and they look fantastic, look really, really impressive, and I'm really, really excited to see that one, because that's one of those stories that I didn't really know anything about before I watched it, and then I watched it, or what there is of it, and the reconstructions, and I thought, this is a cracking story. How's no one ever really talks about this? Like, I feel like it's one of those classic, just not talked about Doctor Who stories, rather than being really bad or really good. It's just right down the middle, but actually I thought I really, really enjoyed it, so I'm really, really looking forward to that, and of course Fear from the Deep as well. 2 animations in 2020. We don't know quite when in 2020 they're going to be released. I'd, at a guess, assume one would maybe be in the spring and one in the autumn, just to kind of spread it out a little bit, but I really don't know. That is purely a guess. We've really had no indication yet as to a date range, apart from in 2020. That is the closest we're getting. And I don't mind that, because it means that hopefully within the next year we should get 2 new animations released of classic Doctor Who stories, which is really, really exciting. Now, the one other piece of news which I'm sure will be exciting for a few Doctor Who fans out there who are big into classic Who and have been collecting the Blu-ray sets but missed out on the season 12 box set. We heard confirmed at the what they called the collection panel yesterday. So the collection is the Blu-ray range, or Blu-ray box set range that started in last year. Then they confirmed that there was going to be a limited sort of re-release of the season 12 box sets, because it was one that essentially there wasn't enough made originally. It sold out ridiculously quickly, and anybody who missed out on it basically had no chance of ever getting it. They went onto eBay and started selling for 500 quid, which is just ridiculous. Like, no matter how much of a fan of Doctor Who you are, surely you can see it's a bit bonkers to be paying £500 for just a Blu-ray box set of 5 stories that you probably already got on DVD anyway. Like, that's crazy. So for you guys who want to get it at a reasonable price, they did confirm yesterday that they will be re-releasing the season 12 box set at some point in the reasonably near future. They said there'll be information coming up fairly soon as to the sort of specifics of it, but they will be, presumably it'll be at the same sort of a pre-order type thing as they did for the original season 12 box set, I would assume. So if you've managed to sort of have been collecting up until now but just missed that first one, then it's your lucky day. You're going to be able to catch up on the season 12 box set as well. Thankfully I managed to pick it up at the time, but I know there's a lot of you guys out there who didn't, so this is the perfect opportunity to do it. So yes, that's just a brief roundup of the main bits of Doctor Who, or classic Who, Blu-ray, animation, the collection news that we got yesterday. Apart from that, there wasn't really anything else particularly major, I don't think, that came out of the various panels. There was obviously, I think there was one for Terrence Dicks, which sadly I wasn't able to go. I really was a shame I wasn't able to go, but I would love to have gone along to that Terrence panel. I'm sure that was a lovely experience. If anybody did go yesterday, do let me know how you enjoyed the day yesterday down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your sort of thoughts from the day and anything like that. It'd be brilliant to hear from you. But yeah, just let me know what you think down in the comments below. But apart from that, that's just it for this quick little roundup. Remember that like button, that subscribe button if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another one. Goodbye.